I was actually going to ask you this, but since you brought it up, I don't want to get you off track. But the Filmstruck, talk to me about that. That was going to be one of my last questions anyway. So I wanted to ask you about
that's my former employer, AT&T. They're a monopoly. This is why monopolies are terrible. AT&T bought Time Warner Cable, one of its chief rivals for delivering internet services. Why? Why would that be approved here? AT&T buys them, but Filmstruck was making money from what I've read. It just wasn't making a lot of money. And so what AT&T wants to do is shut them down, and then they'll start their own service where they don't have to split the revenue with the Criterion people and just stream Turner Films. And it'll probably be more expensive than what was done. This is what monopolies do, and this is why corporations are evil, because they tend towards monopolies. And it's not just enough to make a good solid living. You have to be obscenely wealthy. And they all use the same bullshit. They'll say, "Oh, well, we can deliver services cheaper." No, because once there's no competition, this is why when you have Democrats and Republicans, they're the same party here in America. People, these idiots on Twitter, I've argued with so many of them. I say, use your fucking brain. The Democrats have done nothing for 40 years while the Republicans have raped us. Why do you think? I say to people, imagine you have a rapist, and then you've got the person who's holding the victim down so the rapist can rape her. Isn't that person who holds the woman down just as guilty as the rapist? Of course. But no one cares about anything. And so now this service, which was potentially good, and Jessica was learning a lot about film and helping her with her writing, it's again down because people don't care. This is why Cosmoetica, whatever it's up to, in a couple of months, it'll probably be 750, 800 million people or viewers that have clicked on it at least one time. But in reality, out of all of those people, I've got maybe 45, 50 people on my e-list. I've got a few hundred people who email me on a fairly regular basis that aren't on the e-list. Most of them ask mostly inane questions.
What was Robin Williams' greatest performance?
Yeah, but other things that they'll ask. I get things like, Dan, sometimes they're Dear Abby type questions. I was like, I don't care about your love life. Well, but then they'll ask, Dan, what do you think was the greatest 17th century novel or something? I'm like, get away. I'm not here. I put out so much. This is why I don't have the time. I have so little time. I wish I could do more of these Ask Dan Schneider things, but I don't really have the time to do them. And most of them are so. And so the last one I did was on Donald Hall, because someone had asked me since he died, what did I think of Donald Hall? Well, what I'm going to say? This is a guy whose life was a total waste. A total fucking waste. Why did Donald Hall exist? He didn't put anything positive into the world. His wife, who died 20-some years before him, didn't put anything positive into the world. Robert Bly had some talent and threw it away. Donald Hall had nothing to throw away. And the fact is, he's not even the worst of them. James Tate is worse. These PC writers that, I'm going to write as a left-handed lesbian Eskimo. Well, there's three of you. What kind of culture is that, It's like, come on. And God forbid that we actually say, this is bullshit. I want, when I'm, Jessica, had a shit fit with this fellow Chin when he had a positive opinion about the book by the person we had mentioned earlier. But I said to her, look at the stuff he says about your poems, or your writing, your books. He understands that. He's on point there. Just because someone makes a mistake doesn't mean you throw them away. Just because the only, if the only painting I ever saw of Van Gogh was the Potato Pickers or some of his lesser earlier stuff, I'd be like, okay. but I wouldn't not want to look at some of his other stuff. I may never think he's as high as some of these other painters we mentioned, but I'm not going to shut myself off. And so you know, this is just the very frustrating thing. And you know, on the one hand, you end up with people like the Stacey Stafford woman who totally give things up, and now she's scamming people. She's running an online workshops to tutor people for writing. How the hell can you tutor people when you don't know how to write well? That's like me trying to give makeup tips to 14-year-old girls. Well, you know, if you use Maybelline's, you know, full lash extension thing, you know, you're going to be able to flutter and have Bobby, you know, come in his pants during the science class. Who cares?
I'd love to see you give makeup advice, Dan.
Yeah.